Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning, and you have been warned that spoilers beware. Our headlines today built on Vince McMahon undertaking back surgery, CM Punk disaster talks between he and the Elite that apparently have been very productive. Heel turns to put people into Team Lashley, plans for Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair, replacement factions lined up for the Bloodline as the Bloodline begins to wrap up, certain wrestlers pitching wrestlers from NXT as call-ups to work with them. That will also relate to Bobby Lashley, not a surprise to anyone I'm sure. Creative hiatus for The Way as a faction. No game plan in place for Triple M, that of course being the Maximum Male Models. The women's tag team titles and their booking. Two names currently being talked about to potentially win the Royal Rumble. Some of you may already know based on some of the news that's out there, but there are two names currently being discussed to be Royal Rumble winners. Sheamus falling down the ladder, the situation with Peacock, the lack of profit that they're making, the money that they're in fact losing, and a little something on the recent troll activity on the TikTok and how grateful I am for it. So, hello everyone, welcome, very glad to see you all. Be sure to say hi to everyone in the chat. It does really boost the chat rate and gives an immediate boost to the show to get people through the door. But I want to say hello to Bailey, Spiderboss, Sean, Daniela, Joe, Brad, CM, Eric, Wrestler Fan, Daz, Aaron, Mark, Lady Sky TV, and Jordan Darlow. Welcome everyone. So grateful to see so many of you. Adam's already here. You're right, mate. For those aware of Foundation, you can check me out there on Adam's channel in a few weeks. It may be tied to a big event that you may quite enjoy. So, let's jump into it. That's out of left field, Bailey. First I've seen about that. So the first thing I want to talk about, the news is already out there via the New York Post. Vince McMahon has indeed undertaken surgery to fix a problem with his back. And yes, apparently the mustache is very much still there. So you win some, you lose some. At the very least, it's a general mobility issue. It's not believed to have been anything particularly life-threatening, but it is a major surgery. He is not, at this point, expected to be live and in person at SummerSlam, though they are planning to dial him in so that he can be involved backstage. He will, of course, be having oversight of all of creative plans up until and including SummerSlam. Vince McMahon has to sign the event off, so he will still be heavily involved. However, he's at home at the moment, taking bed rest. We already have some questions coming in. Fair enough, KJ. That's an interesting intro. How you doing, mate? Razar, hello. Leon, hello as well. Camo says, hello, Tom. Been a while, but glad to stop in when I can. Hope you're doing well, of course. Appreciate that, Camo. I'm not going to be going around chasing anyone who can't make it to a show. I always say that, and I always will. I'm always glad to see so many of you, and I think that's the important thing. Regardless of how often you pop in, I'm very grateful to see you. Spiderboss says Solo Sikoa to win the 2024 Men's Rumble. And also says, according to Wrestling Observer, Thunder Rosa is back training to prepare for her return. Sean says Fightful confirmed Liv's injury is legit, which is true. Didn't see them say anything about Kevin Owens. They initially reported on a Kevin Owens injury, in fact, before I did. Bailey says, is Kairi Sane returning at SummerSlam? Why would that happen? I'm not aware of that. Is there a report out there? Wiggly says, yo, 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 yo. Yeah, mate, how you doing? Rizal says, hi, Tom. Excited for spoiler warning. Seems like there's a lot of news. Isn't there always? Welcome, Peter. Rob says, all aboard the Colohue Express. Riyadh says, hey, Tom. Hope you and the family are doing good. Doing very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Pardon me. Joey says, hey, Tom. Do you think Vince's involvement will be less now since he had a big surgery? Nope, I think he'll be exactly as involved as he's always been. Michael says, hi, Tom. Hello, Michael. How you doing? Wiggly, this is a spoiler warning news show. This is wrestling. There are other shows where I can be a bit more open, for example the watch parties, where I can have a bit more of a chat, but this is one where I try and get all the news in and answer all the questions within an hour, so I do not intend to wander off into football. Joey says, is KO's injury a minor one? It's not necessarily an injury, it's more an amalgamation of several small injuries. Much like Drew McIntyre, he's been working injured for a while and he just needs a bit of time to rest. I'm certainly not going to begrudge him that. The other Mike says, what up, Tom? You should get some theme music. I've considered it, but like all of the royalty-free music that I've found, yeah, not really worth it. Peter says, evening Tom, hope you had a great week. Let's smash the likes or get the tables out. Thank you for that, Peter. We do have 64 people watching and 29 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit that thumbs up. It does guarantee growth on the channel. Spider-Boss says, now some main roster talent can pick NXT talent to work with. Well, let me report it first. Let me report the news before you react to the news, okay? Okay, don't get overexcited. Camel says the big rumour going around is that Randy is coming back for SummerSlam, but you know how that goes when the media runs with things. Indeed, I do. I've been reporting on the Randy Orton return since February, when I posted a video which remained accurate until now. I posted an update a couple of weeks ago as well, just to make clear the situation. Randy Orton is not currently cleared to return to action. However, neither was Edge when he returned at SummerSlam many moons ago. CM says, I assume Mello will lose tomorrow to then get called up to Bobby's faction. What do you think? I think I'll be reporting the news very shortly. Jungle says, hello. Hello, Jungles. How are you? Wrestler Fan says, is Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's World Championship still happening at SummerSlam? To my knowledge, yes. To my knowledge, it is. Vegeta says, hi, Tom. Hello, Vegeta. Marcel says, hi, Tom. And chat, how are you? Doing very well, thank you, Marcel. Welcome to this show. Leon says, BWE reports Odyssey Jones is set to debut on SmackDown despite being drafted to Raw. They may indeed be making some tweaks. There's a number of wrestlers that we haven't seen much of. I don't expect anyone to debut this close to SummerSlam. If anything, it would be after SummerSlam. Sean says, Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer News, thank you for sourcing, JR's contract with AEW expires in 2 months. Do you see him staying? No, I don't think they get any benefit from him. Joey says, do you think there'll be more teasers tonight for Bobby's new faction? Multiple and plural? No, more to come. Michael says, Fightful is reporting Jamie Hayter may not return this year. I mean, it's a serious injury. I wouldn't be too surprised. Spider-Boss says, do you see Shayna as Rhea Ripley's next rival after SummerSlam? I think it's possible, depending on where they go with her character. After all, we're not all certain who's supposed to be the face and who's supposed to be the heel here. Daz, I do have some AEW news, and in fact, let's jump straight into that because it is one of my first pieces of news. And I've lost slightly where I was there. It'll be fine. So, CM Punk and the Elite have apparently sat down and hashed it out. There has been a concerted effort by Tony Khan to get communication going between CM Punk and the Elite to try and grease the wheels a little bit, grease the gears, and make it a bit of a better place backstage where we do genuinely have some warring factions in place. Tony Khan is fully aware that if AEW put on the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR, they would be onto a real money spinner, and he's very interested in doing that. The wrestlers as well are very interested in the success of the company, and they want to help make that happen. The issue, of course, is that there is a real strong, as you know, ongoing issue between CM Punk and the Elite. Now, I'm told these discussions have taken place over a number of weeks since CM Punk's return, and things are looking a lot better. One of the main reasons that Tony Khan has been pushing for this is because the Elite's contract are coming up, and he wants to ensure that they sign new deals. This is the reason we've seen a report out in the last few days about the Elite potentially not leaving after all. To my knowledge, there was no real intention from the Elite to leave. That is something that Dave Meltzer initially reported, and now Dave Meltzer is rumour killing. I've mentioned before that quite often, particularly with Dave Meltzer, he'll report news and then rumour kill that same news. After all, he gets the headlines either way. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob. The YouTube channel's doing particularly well at the moment. We're up to 2555 subscribers. We've gained more than 70 so far this month, and we are really regaining momentum at quite a rate of knots. I'm very, very happy with how we're doing at the moment. If you've not yet done so, please do consider hitting subscribe as we continue our growth. We're already halfway to 2,600, and I just feel like yesterday we hit 2,500. Pardon me. Joe says, Tom, what do you think will happen on SmackDown tonight? Wrestling, promos, and ad breaks. Ray says, how many cherry cokes have you got left? So, for those who don't know, 21 days ago, 3 weeks ago, it was my birthday on the 7th of July, my 35th, and I was given to celebrate by my brother-in-law 48 cans of Cherry Coke Zero. For those who aren't aware, I'm a Cherry Coke fan. Where'd he go? And I don't know, something tells me that I love Cherry Coke. which is weird because I've got this here bottle, despite the fact that I do still have some cans left. I've seen it happen before in this chat, but let's do it anyway. How many cans do you guys think I have left of the 48 from 3 weeks ago? 48 I had 21 days ago. How many do you think I've got left? Joe says, do you think we'll get any surprises for SmackDown or SummerSlam? Yes, because we have not read the script. Riyadh says, if I had £1 for every time I heard Randy Orton was coming back, I'd have enough to pay Mbappe's Saudi wages. Trying to sneak in the football there, Riyadh. Clever man. Eric says, Tom, if you already answered my question, I'm sorry, but if not, any news on Rhea's new opponent for SummerSlam? To my knowledge, it's still going to be Raquel Rodriguez. Squid says, have you noticed the random skeleton heads in the backstage shots on Raw and SmackDown? I have at times. I've explained before the situation with Bray Wyatt. I know a lot of people are thinking it's him. It certainly might be. He is at a point now where there is a storyline that people are happy with, and that there is an agreement between Bray Wyatt and WWE that they're going to push forward with. If he's going to return, I suspect it'll be after SummerSlam, and I don't necessarily think he'll be working with Cody Rhodes. But we'll see how it plays out. I don't have a bearing on this or a report. Steve says, is all this Grayson Waller business leading to a big surprise at SummerSlam? No, because we've already heard that Grayson Waller's going to be involved, so it's not really a surprise anymore, is it? Sean says, Gable Stevenson will be making his in-ring debut at Great American Bash. His opponent is Baron Corbin. The main reason for that, of course, is that Baron Corbin is trusted with people who are aren't necessarily the most experienced. Baron Corbin, for example, was trusted to give Edge his first bump after his big return from injury. Spider-Boss says the injury of Jamie Hayter certainly hurt the women's division of AEW. Vegeta says, Undertaker to appear and take out Waller. No. Joey says, Work is reporting LNA is planned to have a segment or match at SummerSlam. Have you heard anything on this? No, not at this point in time, but I have previously reported, and has been confirmed since, that there were plans to start the push for LA Knight after SummerSlam. It would not surprise me to see him appear at SummerSlam to make that happen. CM says, will there be another Bobby faction tease tonight? Just before we get to that, Brad is guessing 10 cans. Mark is going 5. Peter 1. Bailey says 6. Camo also saying 6. Ronan Conant, welcome. That's a new name. Says 12. Welcome to the show. Marcel and Steve say 13. Riyadh saying 7. Razar says 18. Daz tries to sneak in 2 options. Ray says 12. Nas says 15. KJ going with 13. Vegeta says 9. Unfortunately, none of you got it. Jack saying 18 as well. But so many of you were so close. I have 11 cans left. I have drank 37 cans in 21 days, which honestly, I don't think is terrible. But I'm also drinking at the moment a bottle of the stuff. No, Joey. No, you calm yourself down. Bobby Lashley faction. The Bobby Lashley faction will be formally launched in the weeks to come. This is supposed to be slow motion because it is one of the options to replace the Bloodline. And the Bloodline historically are a slow motion faction. That's a good thing. It means long-term booking and long-term storytelling. Bobby Lashley last week was supposed to do another segment with the Street Profits. The Street Profits and Bianca Belair are currently teasing heel turns to align with Bobby Lashley, and it's believed that this will be a heel faction. Bobby Lashley may slowly go into that direction, but that's where he wants to be, and that's who he wants to work with. He has specifically requested to work with the Street Profits, and this for me presents an amazing opportunity. There will be more of a push for it tonight. The expectation is that every single week we will see something from this faction. Steve says, is Dave Meltzer a con artist? I like that. Michael says the whole Outcast storyline should probably end now that Jamie will be out for a while. Spider-Boss wants to see Mercedes versus Jade Cargill. Once again, there is a plan for that. Ishii says anything on Bray Wyatt? Nothing I haven't already touched on. When it comes to Bray Wyatt, I've shared a lot of news, but unfortunately right now I have nothing to report. Hector says, Tom, did you see WWE announce the return of No Mercy for NXT September 30th? Is there any old pay-per-views you'd like to see return as a PLE? Personally, I'd always lean towards Judgment Day, but there's a faction called that now. So Spider-Boss says, I remember you said Rhea versus Raquel Rodriguez may not be the match that people expect. Hope it isn't another squash match for Rhea. No comment on that one. Camo says, happy belated Tom. Thank you, Camo. I appreciate that. 23 Fresh says, do you drink Pepsi? Sometimes yes, more often I'm in a pub and they say, Pepsi alright? And I'm like, yeah. Riyadh says, Tom, in your opinion, do you think Vince will ever warm up to LA Knight? He already actively has, after all the LA Knight push is incoming, as previously reported. Joey says, if Bray wants back, I hope it's not this current character with the puppets. It is a brand new storyline, but it is likely to have echoes of the previous one. Vegeta says, I'd say Bray will feud with someone from SmackDown. We'll see how that goes. KJ says the AEW women's division was suffering before Hater, but yesterday fans on Twitter were going insane over Britt versus Taya. Yeah, people are dumb. People are dumb. We'll see how it goes at All In. Pete says he got it on drip. Pretty much. Steve says make sure you hydrate with water between cans. I'm a water drinker in general. I don't want to destroy my body entirely, you know. FDR says what's up with up y'alls? What's up y'alls? What's new with Colohue? What's new basically is not much, to be honest. I've just been casually going about my work. I'll be going on holiday in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, there will not be a spoiler warning or a SmackDown watch party, and we'll miss a week's worth of lives, but we'll still be doing shorts, so hopefully we'll still be going fun. Vegeta, source your information there. Sean says there's a lot of negative backlash all over social media about Dana Brooks' win over Cora Jade on NXT this week. Yeah, once again, people are making decisions there without knowing anything of the actual story. People just mad. CM says is Mello in it? Officially, no. So Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams were used last week to basically replace the Street Profits in a backstage segment. The intention was that they would just be replacing them and there'd be someone that Bobby Lashley could tease working with. Bobby Lashley afterwards basically suggested that he'd be happy to go to NXT, however briefly, and do some work there with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. So that opens a door, and when I'm talking about wrestlers pitching for call-ups, this is one of the ways in which it's happening. Wrestlers on the main roster are asking for the building of factions with people in NXT. They started with Finn Balor speaking about JD McDonough and trying to encourage WWE with the draft to call him up. Now we have Bobby Lashley doing much the same. Johnny Gargano apparently has also really been very vocal about who he wants to see called up and used in action. So a number of WWE wrestlers are currently speaking with the backstage team, the management team, trying to make call-ups happen. 23 Fresh says, where are Cedric and Benjamin? They are on creative hiatus. Eric says the skeleton was supposed to be Braid if Becky joins him because she was seen talking to one on Monday. No. Moises says it is sad how Cedric and Sheldon won't be in the stable. No plans for that at this point in time. That may change. Daniela says with the LWO, Ray and Escobar have been getting a push. What's happening with Zelina, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro? They're getting what's called a push by association. Personally, I call it a background push, similar to what Solo Sikoa has had for quite a while. Will says, would Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams have anything to do with Bobby's new faction? I believe I've covered that at this point, Will. If not, you let me know. Spider-Boss says, in your opinion, do you think MJF and Adam Cole could win the AEW tag team titles? They could. Yes. FDR says, good, Tom. Hope you had a good time then. Have done so far, mate, and hope the same is true of you. Carl says, late to the show, but good day to you, fine sir. Thank you kindly. Pardon me. And a very good day to you as well. Hopefully you're doing good. We are doing a SmackDown watch party tonight, but I know you host a Raw watch party over on OLA, so I certainly encourage people to check that out. Eric says, do you know how long Hook is in AEW? No, I don't have details of his contract, unfortunately. Ray says, Taya Valkyrie tweeted and said people were tweeting nasty things about her. I saw them. They were. CM says maybe Mello loses tomorrow and gets called up into the faction. Maybe. The real push forward is going to start after SummerSlam when Roman Reigns begins to wind down a little further. Q43 says, regarding a full The Way return, I was told... Right, you're quoting Zero News. Camel says, WWE should start with putting Johnny in action for Pete's sake. Let's talk about that then, because I have something on that. The Way are currently considered on creative hiatus. I've mentioned previously, before the news broke as regards Dexter Lumis being off TV because they don't have anything for him, the WWE creative were really struggling to come up for any storylines actually involving him. The character of Dexter Lumis does not fit the main roster. Absolutely does not fit the main roster in any way, shape or form. And they're struggling to work out a way to give the character the additional personality required in order to really kick off this character in general. With this in mind, the entirety of the way are essentially on creative hiatus at the moment. They've come up with a few different ideas. We've seen vignettes for Johnny Gargano with the intention of using him. He has been cleared to return to action, but at the moment, they're just not sure what they can do with them, and that's causing some issues. I do think we're likely to see the way against Judgment Day. So you might suggest a Judgment Way at some point soon, but it will be after SummerSlam at this point that they start pitching new ideas. As regards DIY, to my knowledge, not currently incoming, but there is a strong push from creative to make it happen. Gaza says, do you see Gargano and Ciampa reforming DIY? Yes, but not yet. Adam says, any word on any potential push with Karrion Kross? This is a difficult one. This is a really difficult one. Because when Karrion Kross was initially brought in, that was the plan. He was going to get a push. Now, under Triple H, people coming in tend not to be immediately dropped in at the top. That's more of a Vince McMahon plan. Even Val Venus got a pretty strong push when he first started. Under Triple H, when you start out, you start off losing. The problem was, in a feud with Drew McIntyre, you don't come out looking good. You just don't. There was an idea that maybe he could be the one to face Roman at Survivor Series. Instead, they went with War Games. So different people in creative are trying to ensure a push for this guy. Then we saw the return of Vince McMahon. And unfortunately, Karrion Kross has just sort of fallen into a routine. To my knowledge right now, there are no plans for a serious push for Karrion Kross. He won't be elevated in any real way from any of the feuds he's in, unless someone, as part of a bigger faction, decides that he's worth their time. For example, a Bray Wyatt. Steve from SCW says, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well, Tom, along with everyone in the chat. My question today, I'm wondering your favourite SummerSlam match. SummerSlam match, I've mentioned this one a few times because it's a name that goes back in infamy. The very first pay-per-view I watched was SummerSlam 1998. I could not care less about the main event. It was The Undertaker versus Steve Austin. It was an Undertaker who wasn't The Undertaker as we all knew him. He was just a guy who looked a bit dark. It wasn't really a big deal. And it was Steve Austin who I had no connection with because I was 10 years old. I just turned 10 as well. I didn't really care. My youngest just got into wrestling and for her 10th birthday I bought her a Becky Lynch shirt. I didn't realise that. Irony. Sorry, I gotta... Yeah, my favourite SummerSlam match is the match that preceded that. It was The Rock versus Triple H in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and it's also one of the reasons I have such a soft spot for that championship. Mark says, right, I need some good news. Will we see Imperium, all of the members, holding gold at the same time soon? Soon? No. Soon? No. Joey says, why is Johnny still being kept off TV? Creative hiatus. They have no plans for him. They don't know what to do with him. KJ says, Tyron Britt had one botch and people lose their minds. The match, in my opinion, was pretty good. Sean said, did you see that Brandy Rose said she's retired from in-ring competition? Yep, I reported previously when Cody came over that there was no interest from WWE in Brandy Rose and she was going to do her own thing. That's exactly what happened. Steve says, great news. Impact Wrestling are doing a UK tour in October. Glasgow, Newcastle and Coventry. Coventry's a bit out of nowhere. Dylan says, Bobby's faction at the moment will have himself, Bianca and the Prophet. That is, at the moment, the plan. The idea is, as much as anything, that even without a championship, they want to ensure that Bianca Belair is at the very top of the WWE. One of the easiest ways to do that is to put her in a faction which essentially will be given parity to the Bloodline sooner rather than later. As the Bloodline is phased out, on Raw, Judgment Day has already started to take its place, whereas on SmackDown, Bobby Lashley will be the one. His faction will include Street Profits and Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair's formal heel turn, whether or not it's a complete full switch or whether it's more of a move into a tweener, I'm not sure yet, I'm still working on that, but it will come against Charlotte Flair. After the triple threat at SummerSlam, Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair looks like it is set to continue, and yes, this will inform later on who we're talking about as Royal Rumble winners. Camo says, I'm honestly fine with seeing the way, but with Dexter being replaced by Ciampa, just my 2 cents. It wouldn't be the way though. KJ says, on Monday mentioned Dexter being on creative hiatus. On Monday, on spoiler warning, Twitter account BWE Boozer tweeted it yesterday, and then it was further published. Yep. That's how this works, guys. You know this. How many times have I reported something and then it goes viral with someone else's name on it? I think it's just the YouTube format. KJ, you've mentioned this to me many times before, but I'm not going to sit and post everything here on Twitter, because then why would you subscribe? I'm happy. I'm very happy hosting these shows for the people who are invested in it, for the people who care about it, for the people who drop in for 2 minutes once a year. I'm very happy hosting these shows. Moises says it kind of sucks because Lumis is very entertaining and a good wrestler. The issue is NXT entertaining. That's a very different thing. Leon says, how do you book Dexter though? He doesn't even talk. Good question. Let's open that up to the group. Okay, there are 76 people here and 39 likes. Please remember to hit thumbs up. Let's hear from some of you how you would book Dexter Lumis on the main roster. How would you use him? And also, at the moment, 2,555 subscribers. Please do remember, if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Spider-Boss says, I certainly enjoy more when Rhea Ripley's on her own rather than when she's with Dominic Mysterio. There are 2 Rhea Ripleys. They are booked very differently. Razar says, Candice and Indy should really be using the tag division. That would make sense, however, there'll be more on the tag division later. Spider-Boss says, Roman versus Brock SummerSlam 2020 is my favourite SummerSlam match. Michael says, what do you think would be a good match for Tony at All In? Was hoping it would have been Jamie. I think Athena would be good. That would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Camo says, any news on AJ Styles receiving any type of push? If not, I'm guessing it's got something to do with his 2 compadres. Nope. So there were plans being put together for AJ Styles versus Roman. I still think they'll be looking at that, but there is a lack of interest in working with Paul Heyman from the OC. When it comes to any sort of push for AJ Styles, there's no real intention to have him competing for or winning championships. AJ Styles, the WWE believe, is on his last real contract, certainly his last full-time contract, and they're not likely to see too much of him after that, so they're not planning to invest much in him. Joey says, do you know if this Y6 faction is being pitched again for Bray's return? It's being pitched constantly. Bray wants it, the WWE don't necessarily, and a lot of the wrestlers that he wants in it also don't want to be involved. Spider-Boss says, I try to understand lately people on social media compare Rhea Ripley with Chyna. Yeah, she's an imposing figure, I get it. Spider-Boss says, Seth Rollins being surrounded by the Judgment Day and Shield way was cool to see. Dal says, when do you think AEW will start announcing the card for All In? If they don't do it soon, there's no point doing it. CM, I've told you everything I possibly can of Carmelo Hayes. Joey says, why have the Good Brothers barely been used? Mostly because they're rarely there. They are genuinely very rarely there. Their contracts do not require them to be there. Adam says, will MVP be involved in the new Lashley stable? At the moment, I've not heard anything on it. From what I can tell, it's not the Hurt Business, and that suggests that it won't be the MVP faction that we know. That said, I would love MVP working with Street Profits and Bianca. Bobby Lashley has been recently challenged to spend more time on the mic and develop that side of his personality. I can see that working. Ray's favourite SummerSlam match is a British Bulldog versus Bret Hart from SummerSlam 92. Riyadh says, Tom, do you think Montez Ford would have a similar role to the role Jey Uso has in the Bloodline? There isn't automatically that background and that history, so I would say no, but I do think when they make a faction like this, everyone rises to the top. Montez Ford would rise the highest. Wrestler Fan says, when do you think Edge will wrestle next on pay-per-view or PLE? Not sure. I'd imagine it'll be somewhere around Survivor Series time. Dominic says, hi Tom, just coming on. Are they putting the Universal title on Lashley? No. Razar says, Charlotte as a babyface just doesn't work. I think that's the reason the Rhea feud was so lackluster. Same would happen in a Bianca feud. Yeah, so they need Bianca to really turn. Sean says, WWE having Bianca turn on Charlotte didn't work the last time they tried it with Becky. True. And that would make the whole thing an audible waiting to happen, which is fun. Ray says, do you like the new Twitter logo X? No, but I really don't like Twitter anymore. Spider-Boss says, I booked Dexter Lumis as an ass-kicking monster with Johnny Gargano as his mouthpiece. Okay, who would you have him destroy? Who would suffer for his booking? Bailey says, book Dexter Lumis as a WCW like Big Bubba Rogers and Enforcer. That would necessitate a manager that would do the talking. To be fair, you've got Johnny Gargano right there. Just happens an awkward member of the family. Joey says, wasn't that the reason Dexter got released in the first place? Because Vince didn't like his character? I'm yet to see any news confirming that. Mark says, I'd turn him heel, have Indy as his mouthpiece and get her making Dexter to attack people and use his creepiness in her favour. I like the idea there. Once again, who is he beating up? FDR says, I don't know how to book Loomis in general. Perhaps a freeway love triangle of sorts could fit in with Loomis and Indy. Maybe add in Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross would hate that and would not want to do it. Brad says, actually have him talk. I've heard him talk in interviews and he's actually really interesting. Not talking makes him stand out more than anything else. Jack suggests Cross and Dexter should join Bray. Maybe it's been suggested, and maybe they don't want to. Will says it's sad that it takes the wrestlers to confirm your reports. I'll take it. I still remember a long time ago being told I was lying about Sasha Banks, and then Becky Lynch confirming the situation about Sasha Banks. Leon says, I just hope it's not as bad as the Miz Dexter Johnny feud. That feud is one of the worst feuds of that year. Jesse says, Tom, do you see Finn beating Seth for the World Heavyweight Championship? Kinda, yeah. Though I don't necessarily think Finn's the one who leaves with the championship. Steve says, Dexter came in the best way with the car crash backstage and then being interested in the crowd. The motive and target was exciting to find out, then it dragged for 4 months with The Miz. Yeah, the reason for that is because they had a great idea for a storyline and no idea for how to finish it. It's just awkward. CM suggests Bobby's faction, whatever it may be, versus Judgment Day down the road. Gaza says Jay will win at SummerSlam. Sorry, Gaza just shouts at us. Peter says Lashley has a personality. Breaking news. Just thought he loved hurting people. That is a personality. It's called masochism. Camo says Edge's last match in Toronto in August seems to be no longer. We keep hearing about that. I've never seen any confirmation of it. Steve says personally it's lazy booking, but either aligned with Bray Wyatt or just having his old stalker style gimmick would be the way I'd book Loomis. C-Max says no matter how much better Lashley gets on the mic, it'll never be better than MVP being his mouthpiece, which I don't disagree with. I do think that's a fair point, but if there is a certain benefit to having wrestlers able to stand alone. Spider-Boss wants to see Dexter Loomis beating up The Miz. Haven't we seen that already? KJ says, personally, I don't know what they could do with Dexter. Maybe put him with Wyatt. I thought his run after Triple H re-signed was fun. KJ says, I think they should just stare at people from the top deck in the arena and the camera should focus on him. They did it. They did stuff like that. The issue is, a lot of people are really hoping he just goes backwards. Will says, do you see Bianca versus Charlotte being non-title or for the title? Personally, I see it being non-title. Asuka would then move on. Alyssa says Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley needs to happen. Love to see Rhea Ripley be a babyface. Been a long time since I've seen her as a babyface. To my knowledge, Rhea Ripley really doesn't want to be a babyface, and when she's this good as a heel, I don't blame her. Steve says, just to add on, and by old stalker gimmick, I'm referring to Samuel Shaw days in Impact, rather than the goofy character we've had now. Yes, Wiggly, I've heard about Impact. Coop43 says, will we ever figure out why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes? I'm still waiting. Nope. Once again, I think sometimes they kick storylines off with no actual plan in place to finish them off. Noob says, I remember when Dexter Loomis was wrestling in the NWA and they have no idea what to do with him. Sean says, I see that your report about no creative plans for Lacey Evans have gotten out. Has it? I did not realise that started to get across. That was last month, wasn't it? Camo says, I was only speculating because I remember Edge saying he wanted to retire in Toronto off-air Raw last time he was there. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Maybe he did say that and the WWE just haven't decided to do it that way. Bailey says, what is the main roster future for Baron Corbin? That story with JBL Shaw fell flat. Right, so as regards Baron Corbin, I'm starting to get worried. Everything they've given him recently under Triple H hasn't worked. He was very strongly booked under Vince, but both Vince McMahon and Triple H don't seem to really know what to do with Baron Corbin at the moment. Moises says, what do you think their plan is with Bronson Reed titles at some point? They haven't planned that far ahead. They're just trying to get him on TV at the minute. Steve says, just have a chicken poo, appreciate that, heel like Theory or Miz or Waller, use their money to hire Loomis as a hitman to handle their enemies. Well, that gets him away from the way and certainly makes him a bit of a bully. Adam says, any word on Nick Aldis signing with WWE? Unfortunately, I have nothing on that one. The little bits I'm hearing basically suggest that WWE just aren't that interested and wouldn't really know what to do with him. Triple H has brought in something new backstage that I think is a very good idea. It's way overdue. When there's interest in a wrestler, he asks the creative team come up with a couple of storylines for this wrestler. They're struggling. The best way I can possibly describe it, they're struggling. Jesse says I'd have Finn beat Seth and have a slow build-up until Royal Rumble where Priest cashes in. No, Peter, I don't watch AEW Collision. It kicks off at 3 a.m. here, so I don't have time. We have a very, very angry Pauline Mercer who's shaking the fist at the world. Joey Watts classic Vince booking because Vince isn't booking the shows. Mark says Corbin has been amazing in NXT so far. He's a vet now. Very much a vet. Spider-Boss says, some time ago, Mercedes Money confirmed she took time off in 2019 due to mental health. You said it first. Yep, that was one of my first reports that really got attention. I appreciate you bringing that up. CM said, if you could make your own faction, who would be in it? I really like Judgment Day at the moment, to be honest. There's not much I would do differently. Yeah, there's not much I would do differently. Riyadh says, remember to like the video, guys. I appreciate that. We currently have 82 people watching and only the 40 likes, which means half of the people currently watching have not hit the like button. I would appreciate it very much if you could. It really does help the growth of the channel and guarantees more subscribers as well. When you get to a level that I'm at right now, you tend to lose about 1% of your subscribers each month. So I need to fight them off while still growing. So I appreciate any support that you guys can give. Gordy says, WWE posted a video of the Cavendish twins being on last week's SmackDown. They're teasing making their ring debut soon. Jesse says, I'd love if after SummerSlam on Raw we see a video package of Paul and Brock after WrestleMania 39 speaking. Then Brock explains that Roman and Paul pay... You're making your own storyline there. It's fantasy booking, which everyone's entitled to. Joey says, seems like Corbin is transitioning to a veteran role of putting over younger talent. But the Dolph Ziggler role, you might call it. Ray says, any news on Jordan Grace signing for any wrestling company? Not at this point in time. No, I don't have connections there. Alyssa says, are you going to watch the Cody Rhodes documentary? Probably not. Probably not. I know what I want to know. Spider-Boss says, I know it's been asked before. Do you see any interest in WWE in bringing back Mercedes Money? Yes. I see only interest from WWE in bringing her back. They never wanted her to go. Bruce, I'm going to need you to either say something else or just stop repeating the same stuff. There's no question there. There's nothing I can respond to. You're going to need to move on. Spider-Boss says, I know it's been asked before. Oh, I've already read that one. Michael says, sad Corbin didn't last long enough, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Wholeheartedly. Jesse says, Tom, I saw on Twitter WWE on Fox saying Judgment Day runs WWE. In reality, we all know who runs WWE. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is not there. Daniel Kevin says, hello, everyone. Hello, Daniel. How are you, mate? There is currently no plans for maximum male models, and this is why they are being phased out. Maxime Dupree has now joined the Alpha Academy because they believe that the Alpha Academy has further upside compared to what they were intending to do with Triple M. They are not planning any sort of major storyline between the two factions. They are essentially just retconning the fact that that faction has ever existed. Speaking of things being booked and forgotten about, the women's tag team titles are currently being booked on the fly. They were given to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. The idea was they'd give them that after WrestleMania or at WrestleMania initially before the injuries started to take place. And that would mean that they could defend them pretty regularly, and hopefully that would convince Ronda to stick around. That was not the case. Ronda Rousey now planning to leave immediately after SummerSlam. This is why we also had the pivot to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, because they wanted them on both shows, thus allowing them to have the feud with Rhea Ripley and also then compete. That also has not stuck around. So they are very much making this up on the fly. They have a new tag team, of course, in Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, currently holding the championships. They are writing the storyline as we speak for what to do with them. A couple more things. Sheamus has fallen down the ladder a little bit. I mentioned previously that the Brawling Brutes were kind of being forgotten about. They've been involved in a few matches and storylines recently. However, when it comes to Sheamus, now that he's no longer feuding with Gunther or Drew McIntyre, apparently he's kind of being phased into the background. There is a period of creative hiatus that seems to be coming for the Brawling Brutes, at which point they will have a refresh shortly afterwards. But a very different plan is being put together, which involves a push happening for Ridge Holland and Butch more so than Sheamus. KJ says, random question. Say for world champion in the Royal Rumble, could the Money in the Bank cash? Could Mr. or Mrs. Money in the Bank cash in during the match? Yes, they could. That is a good idea. Buttery says there are plans to reform DIY. There are plans. No plans are in action at the moment. Camo says, I really don't know what the Bloodline is going to do tonight to continue the Jay versus Roman story. It'll be interesting to see what they've cooked up. It'll be small. It'll be minor. It'll likely be promo related. but I'll enjoy it regardless. I think personally Solo starts to go rogue. Solo rogue. So rogue. Bailey says, what generally happens to talent on creative hiatus? Do they even appear on house shows, or do they just sit at home? More often than not, they attend every wrestling show and still travel with everyone. They do wrestle at house shows. They just essentially sit in catering or backstage in the locker room unless they are required. Sometimes they are given breaks. Triple H has been a lot more forthcoming with breaks than Vince McMahon ever was. So sometimes they do, yes. Dominic says, hit the like button and subscribe. You're still doing Nick and Tom's, and do you ever come to Texas? Yes, Nick and Tom's happens every single week. The PWTorch livecast, daily cast is the word. PWTorch daily cast, we go live on Saturdays. Tomorrow's will be going live as well. Steve said, do you have any updates on the Kevin Owens and Liv Morgan injuries? Not really, other than the updates I've already given in the shorts, that there are no plans to have them wrestle at SummerSlam. Will says, and don't forget you're the first and only one to make the call about NXT UK closing. You got massive heat with many so-called reporters. That is very true. My report about NXT UK closing resulted in a hell of a lot of people going on the attack. I essentially got gaslit into believing that I had completely reported false information, and I lost a number of sources for that. Of course, before Clash at the Castle, in an interview with Ariel Helwani, Triple H confirmed that it was 100% correct. I'm yet to see any sort of apology, but funnily enough, all of the people who attacked me at the time reported that that was what Triple H said. Peter Robert is saying, Dave Meltzer is reporting WWE Raw stars will appear on SmackDown tonight. That may be, let's not forget, because certain people are out because of a COVID positive. Sean says, since Shayna mentioned on Raw she wants to fight Ronda, do you see the match being the fight pit at SummerSlam? I do not, though it's not impossible. Peter thinks Roman Reigns should hold his undisputed championship forever. Hector says, Tom, to your knowledge, was a plan always to have Gable Stevenson in? Pardon me. Or did he force WWE's hand due to his inconsistency with WWE? I'd imagine you're asking about NXT. To my knowledge, he was not originally intended to be in NXT. He was supposed to come straight onto the main roster. Spider-Boss says, since their return last year until now, the women's tag team titles have had bad booking and short title reigns. Yep. Alyssa is asking for the Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar match stipulation. Still waiting on any confirmation that there's going to be one. Hey Ed, how you doing, mate? Camel says, you've got me excited to see what happens with Solo. I didn't even think of his involvement at SummerSlam. Daniela says, who do you think challenges Sami and Kevin for the tag titles? Kevin is injured, and what credible team could face them? I'd imagine they will not actually appear at SummerSlam. And then the next real wrestling will be building up to the Street Profits. Brad says, NXT Europe still happening? Yep. There'll be more announced shortly. It takes a lot to get these things going. Spider-Boss says, people got mad at you because you were the first with the Mercedes Money news and Bayley news last year. Yeah, I remember very much the hatred about the Bayley news. For those who don't know, everyone say hi to the troll for me, and then say bye to the troll for me. What I do like, Ed, is that you're not actually muting. You're just deleting. You're just playing with him like I do. I like that. But yeah, the Bayley news that I reported was that she'd already been cleared. The only reason she hadn't been involved so far before SummerSlam when she returned is based on the fact that she was on creative hiatus, essentially. She was waiting for the right storyline to return. And then she did. It was pretty sweet, as I recall. But yeah, when it was reported a couple of weeks later, a couple of you, Spider-Boss, I remember you, went to bat essentially saying that I'd already reported this. And yeah, you guys got really attacked for it. I've seen the messages, I've seen the quote tweets, I've seen the DMs. Yeah, it's only wrestling, guys. Jesus. Boys says, Tom, why do some people hate you? Good question. Couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. Carl says, watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it out. Every little bit helps. Thank you kindly. Michael says, hi, troll. Bye, troll. Marcel also says, hey. Bye. Spider-Boss says, I think Solo Sikoa will save Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. I think the elders want Solo to be the guy. I've mentioned that previously as well. Dad says, do you think the US title will be on the line at SummerSlam? Doesn't seem likely at this point, but we'll see how it goes. Peter says, do you think the Elite will go to WWE? Nope. Sean says, you also got big heat for your report about The Rock being a part of the first SmackDown on Fox. That was the first report that really got like proper wide attention. First report I made that really got people talking. I was reporting that The Rock was going to be working with Becky Lynch on Fox, and that is exactly what happened. No, Wiggly, that works on Twitch, but that's not something that works on YouTube. Brad says, hi, troll. Bye, troll. Dad says, hi, troll. Bye, troll. Ricky says, hey Tom, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you being here. Couple of things still to cover. Peacock are currently playing hardball when it comes to contract negotiations. They do not want to increase the money that they're giving to the WWE. The WWE wants a sizable increase in the money based on the amount of increase that they've seen basically signing up to Peacock. A lot of new subscribers to Peacock have happened because of, or at least at the same time as, the WWE move to their platform. So they're looking for more money, but Peacock is not making more money. They're making less money. They're making a lot less money. So they really don't want to be paying out extra money. The WWE may be moving from Peacock in a couple of years because of this. Michael says, any word on if Fox will renew SmackDown? Fox definitely want to renew SmackDown. Negotiations haven't really kicked into high gear, but they are ongoing sort of calmly in the background. Joey, this actually works for this conversation topic as well. Contract negotiations never really end because as long as you're in that deal, you're wanting to prove that you're worth more. Anyone who's ever worked for a company that has, for example, a government contract, anyone who's worked in a service industry, for example, you're always trying to prove your worth and prove that you're worth more. If you're ever asked for a raise, same thing. It's not about what you do the day the raise might happen. It's about what you do the entire year in the build to it. That is why they are looking at doing that. Moises says Peacock has increased the subscription costs. Steve says, are you a fan of the new layout of the WWE Network? I haven't really checked it out, actually. I still go on via my PS4, so unlikely that it's updated. Alyssa says, how long will Liv Morgan be out? Hope they push her when she comes back. Speaking of Liv Morgan, there are two people who are being discussed backstage at the moment as potential winners of the Women's Royal Rumble 2024. Liv Morgan is one of these names, with the idea being that Becky Lynch may prefer to have her feud with Rhea Ripley in the months to come, allowing someone else to pick up that challenge at WrestleMania. The WWE, particularly Vince McMahon, would prefer Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch and Triple H may prefer a different name, for example, Liv Morgan. The other name will not surprise anyone. Io Sky has been mentioned as a potential Royal Rumble winner. They are not 100% certain how her cash-in will go. And I've mentioned previously my fantasy booking that she actually loses her cash-in because of Bayley. Has a brief feud with Bayley, beats Bayley, then wins the Royal Rumble. There is certainly interest in something like that happening. So, Liv Morgan and Io Sky are currently being discussed as potential Women's Royal Rumble 2024 winners. There are a number of people being discussed. As soon as I have something more concrete, I will let you know. Razar says, all I know is I won't pay for a WWE pay-per-view again. They either better get Network back or stay with Peacock. KJ says, I hope Liv wins. Io is a good name too. Either works for me. I always like it when we're in a situation when all options are good. Spider-Boss says, certain wrestling media outlets tried to make the Bray Wyatt return their exclusive news, knowing the Bray Wyatt news first appeared here on Spoiler Warning. I love when you guys do this. What I need to do at some point is just make like a Twitter thread. And each individual tweet is just something I've reported which has been proven true. And eventually it gets to a point where that thread gets longer and longer and longer and longer. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going. You guys are constantly reminding me of things. Eventually I need to start writing these down. Maybe that's the plan. I should just start writing these down. Hector says, from all indications, WWE isn't interested in Brandy Rose in a wrestling capacity, but if Cody ends up getting involved with the Judgment Day, I wouldn't be mad if a Brandy one-off mixed tag team match happens, especially if the story is good. Honestly, I doubt that story would be good, unfortunately. Sean says, any word, and if USA wants to renew Raw? Not at this point in time. I'm waiting on more information for that one. Spider-Boss says, I thought Vince wanted to push Raquel since she's a big strong girl, just as Rhea and Bianca. Vince and Triple H are both fans of Raquel Rodriguez. They think she has tremendous upside and they want to see her succeed. We are currently on 49 likes, guys. One more like will get us to 50. Please consider hitting that like button because it will mean a nice round number. And as a guy living with OCD, nice round numbers are my bag. KJ says you only have potential women's Royal Rumble winners and not men's. That is correct. I only have potential women's winners at this point. But let's be fair, it's July. Michael says a thread like that would piss off SRS, so that's an incentive to do it. To be fair, if he gets pissed off and quote tweets it, well, he's shared it. And I'll provide evidence for it all. Because I'll go to the videos where I said it, and I'll put it out there. And because of the way Twitter is built right now, if people jump in and they try and attack me and say, no, you didn't, no, you didn't, no, you didn't, that means that means the thread grows because more people find it. That's what happens now on Twitter. Trolls are a good thing. Danny B said, great show as always. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that, mate. Rezar says, I really thought the next Women's Rumble winner would be a 2-times winner. Surprised they're both fresh names. Plenty of time for it to change. This is a very early in the day report. I want to be clear on that one. But still pretty good, I thought. FDR says, for me, the thing that put my trust in you was around Clash of the Castle with Roman retaining. You were literally the only one reporting that whilst everybody is saying Drew was winning. Yeah. They get a whole lot of people who really bought onto that hype train, but it was never going to happen. Never. Right, I believe it was June when I first reported that the match at WrestleMania would be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Now, at the time, I expected Cody Rhodes to win. On that, I was wrong, but I wasn't reporting that. I reported the day after Cody Rhodes picked up his injury, he would win the Royal Rumble, he would return at the Royal Rumble, and he would compete with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. All three things are exactly what happened. Interesting, Spider-Boss. Sorry to hear that, Joey. Did anyone else's stream freeze there, or is it just Joey? Please let me know if that did happen. Ricky says, do you see Taker coming to SummerSlam and doing something in ring? Nope, but I see him being at SummerSlam, so the option is there. Steve says, that thread, Tom, will be longer than Jericho's list of 1004 wrestling holds promo in WCW. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's what I should do. Joey says, it's dumb that Sapp and Meltzer always get credit for big reports even when you report it weeks before them. People have their biases, and people have been told what biases to have. FDR says the fact that you're willing to admit that not all your reports are true. Okay. I'm not always right. I think that's what you're trying to say there, FDR. There have been times when I've reported things and they have been proven wrong. Like, true suggests that I'm making this up, which I absolutely am not. But I'm not infallible. No one is. We used to all the time look at the Cage Side Seats rumor look back. And what we found plenty of times was that everyone gets stuff wrong. There were times when the Wrestling Observer was 4 out of 10. There are times when Fightful has got stuff wrong. There are times when PWInsider has got stuff wrong. Everyone at some point will get something wrong. Plans legitimately do change. Not many people are then willing to say, yeah, sorry, I got that one wrong. It's a shame. Sean says you were the only one saying The Rock wouldn't be in the Royal Rumble, while everyone else was saying he would and that he would win it. Yeah. Oh well. I don't worry too much about that. Thank you guys for letting me know about the stream. Appreciate that. Daz says, good show. May not be on for SmackDown, might be asleep. We'll try to leave a like. Appreciate that, mate. And Jesse says, I think Taker just does the attendance thing at SummerSlam where he announces how many people are at SummerSlam. That doesn't really feel like The Undertaker, but he doesn't really feel like that anymore anyway. Rizal says, I remember finding your channel around Rumble 2022. Started watching regularly during the Sasha and Naomi stuff and the Vince news. It was a wild time last year. Yeah, the reports on Sasha and Naomi certainly got a lot of traction, and most of you are still here. Michael says there are exclusives every other day about creative making plans for The Rock. Ringside News had one the other day. Yeah, funny that, isn't it? Spiderball says SRS and Meltzer got it wrong with the MJF news before Double or Nothing 2022. We all at some point get stuff wrong. It happens. Joey says Zero News lied about so many big stories like The Rock returning at Royal Rumble, WWE selling to Saudi, and Roman losing at Clash, just to name a few. Jack says, how much longer do you think Roman will stay champ? I don't want to spoil anything at this point in time, so leaving it there. One last thing I want to talk about, and that I'm going to give someone a bit of attention. Tom Burns Gaming on Twitter, who subscribed to this channel about 5 times and keeps turning up, recently went onto my TikTok and said, well, you've got a lot of stuff wrong recently, which simply isn't true. He then essentially said, you need to stop talking or else I'll. And then gets embarrassed about the fact that, yeah, that's called blackmail, mate. Shut up or else. That's called blackmail. That's how that works. You are threatening to punish me if I don't do what you want me to do. That's called blackmail. Me being me, I responded on TikTok by laughing at him and pointing out that if anyone in his life actually cared about him, they'd have told him not to do that because it's dumb. But if you want to see that exchange, it's available right now on TikTok, and I do suggest checking it out. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to follow me on TikTok if you have TikTok, because the shorts that I post on YouTube are also posted there, and a couple of little bits where I respond to people in kind. Maybe, Joey, maybe. What the trolls don't realise is that they're good for my engagement. Like, genuinely. The videos in which I'm talking to a troll get the most views. They boost the views because the engine, the algorithm, thinks, oh, a lot of people are really invested in this. They're not. There's just one troll trying to kick up a big fuss and make someone care about him. So please keep going. Keep going. I know you're watching. Keep going. Trolls help me grow. So hate me. Please hate me. Go on. Go on. Leave a dislike. That's fine. Right. I want to read this one out. Spiderboss says, I never get why some of the crew hate Tom. And Michael confirms, because he says things they don't want to hear, like she's not mad and doesn't want to leave WWE, or she's in discussions with AEW. Yeah, when I originally reported, I think the report that got your attention, Michael, was literally me rumour killing. Me saying, yeah, Sash is fine. Let's just leave her alone for a bit. That was it. See, there you go. You can see it. Marciano confirming. FDR says, spoiler warning, trolls help Tom's channel grow. Pun intended. And the more trolls I get, the more it grows. It just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm going to wrap it up there. We will be live in a couple of hours for SmackDown. Please do check out the watch party if that is your bag. If not, please have a great evening. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.